Okay. Can you tell us how you were inspired by the designation of Shinnecock Bay as a home spot, as a hope spot?
About a year ago, Ellen Pickich invited us to a boat ride on Shinnecock Bay, resulting from their designation. It was a boat ride for Explorers Club, and we signed up for it, having a summer place there, and learned more about the issues at Shinnecock with the harmful algal blooms that were being reduced by the planting of hard clams. And as we were going around, I kept thinking, this is not a pristine place. This is a place that had problems, and the problems are getting better. And from there, my mind went on to the estuary I know the best, which is the New York, New Jersey Harbor estuary, where the problems a few decades ago were a whole lot worse. There were immense problems that have been improving greatly. And I'm thinking, as we're riding around Shinnecock, the New York, New Jersey Harbor has improved so much more than Shinnecock has, because it was so much worse. So that's what sort of prompted me to think about nominating the New York, New Jersey Harbor estuary.
And around the same time, you had the opportunity to meet Sylvia Earle. Can you tell us about that a bit?
Yes, Sylvia was the guest of honor at a annual fundraising party from the South Fork Natural History Society and Museum. And when she arrived, we joined a few people who were sort of trailing after her as she was being shown around the grounds and the museum. And I finally got a chance to talk to her just to see if my idea of nominating New York, New Jersey Harbor, if she felt it was a ridiculous idea and I shouldn't waste my time. And on the contrary, after I talked to her about it, she was very enthusiastic and said I should go through with putting in a nomination for it.
So tell us something about your background in relation to the estuary. Why did you choose this estuary for your nomination?
Well, throughout most of my career at Rutgers, I studied estuaries, and this was the estuary that I studied, starting back in the 70s and going up to about 2010, working with my husband, the videographer here, and a whole slew of different graduate students over the years and postdoc. We studied Little Creeks, we studied the whole Hackensack Meadowlands. We were looking at how the organisms living there were affected by the contaminants in their environment. We saw that many of the species had evolved to become resistant to some of the contaminants, but we also saw that many of them were not really healthy. Even though they were resistant, they were having problems, particularly behavioral problems, which affected their ability to capture food and their ability to run away from predators. And so by seeing abnormal behavior, predator-prey behavior, that's a kind of behavior that affects the whole ecosystem. And so I focused my time on the problems that were going on there, and didn't so much notice the fact that over those years things were getting a whole lot better. So I decided to nominate this estuary when I realized how much better things had gotten over the decades, where initially it was a stinky, smelly place. There was raw sewage coming out right here into the Hudson River from the upper part of Manhattan. It was an industrial waterfront. There were garbage dumps along the waterfront. In Staten Island, the largest garbage dump in the world, the Fresh Kills. These garbage dumps have now turned into, have been closed as landfills, and have been turned into parks. We have here, and Hudson River Greenway, which would never have existed in the old days. In the old days, when I was a kid and lived on Riverside Drive, we could look way down, far away down to the river, but we couldn't get there. There was no way to get here. And in fact, you know, who would have wanted to get here when it was ugly and smelly? We did a lot of work in the meadowlands, and the same thing is true in the meadowlands. The degree of improvement in diversity of fishes, the incredible return of all sorts of wonderful birds to the meadowlands, and in New York Harbor, whales are back. And it all started with the Clean Water Act and the water getting better, which allowed the biodiversity to improve and all these wonderful species to come back. And as I wrote in the application, if that's not cause for hope, I don't know what is. And it's not to say there aren't any problems still. There's still a lot of problems that we are working on and trying to deal with. Climate change and sea level rise being probably the most worrisome of all. But there are also some wonderful pieces of land, such as Liberty State Park in New Jersey has Cave-in Point, which is a wonderful wild place that is under threat of becoming part of a golf course. So there are still problems here to work on.
Now, unfortunately, you're unable to be in person at this celebration.
I'm sorry not to be there. At the time that you're having this celebration, I am going to be in Washington for CHOW, that's Capitol Hill Ocean Week, with a group of Sierra Club Marine team members, and that's where I'm being. So I'm still taking care of the marine world in as many ways as I can. Despite being retired and not doing original research anymore, I'm still very busy protecting the oceans as best I can.
Well, thank you, Judy. That's lovely, and good luck with your week in Washington. And now I'm going to close this interview and go for a bike ride along my favorite estuary.
And I just want to say Rob Pirani is representing me.
Oh, yes.
Rob is the director of the Harbor Estuary Program.